Tell me about India. Why is India allowed to do that? They have to pay tariffs. Do they have an exemption on rice? They should be dumping. I heard that from others. You can't do that.
Is the US president planning to impose new tariffs on India? Well, Donald Trump recently hinted that he may introduce new tariffs on agricultural imports, including Indian rice. President Trump also took Canadian fertilizers under his radar alongside Indian rice. These comments were made by the US president during a meeting at the White House, where he also unveiled an aid package of $12 billion in fresh support for American farmers. This aid comes as the US farmers struggle to sell their crops. The farmers have been struggling because of the rising costs after the president raised tariffs on China as part of a broader trade war. These farmers also say that cheaper imports from countries like India and Canada are making it hard for them to compete in the market. This aid has been brought to support farmers with the purchase of seeds, fertilizer, and other expenses for next year's growing season. The question is whether the US President Donald Trump is shifting the pressure mounting from the US farmers to countries like India and China, or is it because it poses a political risk for Republicans? Well, according to Bloomberg, Trump is facing strong pressures to deal with high consumer prices and stubborn inflation. These issues are strongly impacting voter sentiment as well, and that frustration poses a political risk for Republicans ahead of next year's midterm elections. So in today's video, let's decode why this aid is crucial for both the US farmers and the Trump administration, and what impact does Trump's latest tariff threat on Indian rice put on trade. US President Donald Trump has announced a $12 billion farm aid package to help farmers hit by low crop prices and ongoing trade tensions. Out of this, $11 billion will go directly as one-time payments to row crop farmers under the Agriculture Department's Farmer Bride Assistance Program. The remaining $1 billion will support other crops that are not covered under the scheme. This aid is crucial for the US farmers as Trump's aggressive trade policies and frequently changing tariff rates are heavily impacting the agricultural sector. For example, soybeans and sorghum were hit the hardest by Trump's trade dispute with China because more than half those crops were exported each year, with most of the harvest going to China. According to a report by AP, farmers appreciate the aid package, but they say it's likely only a down payment on what's needed, and government aid doesn't solve the fundamental problems of soaring costs and uncertain markets. For the Trump administration, this aid package is being positioned as a latest move to defend Donald Trump's economic leadership and respond to voter concerns over rising costs. While hinting at possible tariffs on Indian rice, Trump said he will take care of the alleged dumping of Indian rice into the US. He said imports were challenging domestic producers and reiterated his intent to address the issue.
Why is India allowed to do that? They have to pay tariffs. Do they have an exemption on rice?
No, sir. We're still working on their trade deal.
Yeah, but they should be dumping. I heard that from others. You can't do that.
US farmers have pointed to falling rice prices in the country. The farmers have claimed that crops from countries like India, Vietnam, and Thailand are undercutting their crops. On the fertilizer coming from Canada, Trump said, a lot of it does come in from Canada, and so we'll end up putting very severe threats on that if we have to. Because that's the way you want to bolster here, he said, adding, and we can do it here. We can all do that here. Notably, the US farmers have been a key support base of Trump. So if tariffs are imposed, can it impact India's trade? Well, for starters, India is the world's largest rice producer with 150 million tons and a 28% share of global production. It is also the top exporter, accounting for 30.3% of global exports in 2024-25, according to the Indian Rice Exporters Federation. India exported about 2.34 lakh tons of rice to the US in the 2024 fiscal, which is less than 5% of its global basmati rice exports of 52.4 lakh tons. West Asia remains the dominant destination for Indian rice. The US is among India's key basmati rice export partners alongside the UK and Middle East. Trump has already imposed a 50% tariff on Indian exports, including 25% on rice. This simply means that Indian rice exports to the US are a small fraction of its global trade. Trump has not clearly said when and how these tariffs on Indian rice would be imposed, or if they would come in addition to the 50% tariffs that New Delhi has already been paying. The tariff news also came at a time when Washington and New Delhi were negotiating a bilateral trade agreement. 5 rounds of talks have been completed so far for the first phase of the bilateral trade agreement between the US and India, and negotiations are still underway. So what is your opinion on the matter? Share with us in the comment section below.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.